Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Digital Gate Studios production. Jesse, the return.
The return of Ulforce. This is one that I put down for quite a few weeks after regionals. Something that we were playing with a little bit after regionals because this was like one of the only decks that I brought. Yeah, because we bought all that BT14 in Pasadena, and I was like, what can I put in this deck? So I had some little sparks of inspiration originally while we were over there, and then once we got back, I just kind of put it down and started playing other stuff. But I've recently picked it back up with having a few more weeks under my belt with the new BT14 cards and come up with a new list that I really, really like.
Well, the blue support was not only incredibly strong, but pretty generic.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really necessarily have to go one way or the other. So, of course, you could find room for it in Ulforce.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out the Hexablah video, check that one out. That's kind of where I started with this format playing, and I've taken a few inspirations from that.
Yep.
So let's get started.
Sure.
First of all, we have an egg that you can play 4 of for another couple months. We have 4 of the Bukamon. Starting out strong with one of the best additions to this deck. This card is absolutely insane. With the new source stripping and stuff that kind of comes with this, you pretty much always have an Ulforce that's swinging with jamming, especially once you remove their board. It's really strong.
Yeah. It's an easy condition to hit.
Absolutely. So we do supplement the card draw with a couple other cards in the deck that you lose from the Wanyumon.
Yeah.
The reason I was really attracted to this card was basically playing against your Mirage deck so often.
It's not a mandatory draw.
It is not a mandatory draw like the Wanyumon is.
Yes.
So it's a great card. That being said, we will be going back to the Wanyumon.
Do you think you'll do 1 Buka and 3 Wanya?
I think that's the move.
It'll be really funny to see.
It's the consistency move, but we'll see. Stay tuned for that video.
Yes.
And then we're going to be running 3 of the Veedramons. A lot of this is going to still be all those BT11 cards. We're not going to get away from the search. This is the best search in the deck. It's absolutely insane. But it does bottom deck a few more cards now than it used to, so we don't rely on it as much.
It's not a full tribal anymore.
Absolutely. So we're digivolving this a little bit more in the raising than we used to.
Yeah.
Its companion, we have the EX1. Also does the same thing, gains a memory. So you really want it. I mean, one when you play Tamer, the other one when unsuspense.
You're going to be doing both of those at the same time.
Yeah. So basically pretty parallel cards, except for this one is a little bit stronger and it doesn't do the on play. So going for consistency in the raising this time around.
Yep.
And then we play 2 of the brand new Gomamon. Love this card. It is super oppressive on your opponent, and when people usually have to deal with that Ulforce when it's on the board, it's sticky. So it's really nice. It pairs well with some of our Tamers because you're going to promote, you're going to strip a source, a targeted source, you're going to gain memory, and it can be really detrimental to your opponent, especially if they have like a specific level 6 that needs those inheritables to really operate. As
well as your Rena is going to give your stack blocker. So it is going to force them to get through your Digimon on the way to hurting you, which is going to spit the Gomamon on its way out.
Yeah. And then start of their turn. If they haven't dealt with the new one, then you're dealing with another source strip, which is really nice. So just 10 rookies.
Consistency is up these days.
Teetered with going down to 9, but I just can't do it. I'm not there yet, guys. But I feel good with 10. I feel pretty good. Once again, BT11 staple. We're running 4 of the BT11 Veedramon. This card comes up more than ever now that we are running a certain level 5. This card is really fun to promote out on the board. Or just, promote, and then gives you kind of a little bit of freedom to, if it's on top of this Vmon, you're going to play a Tamer, you're going to gain a memory and draw a card, which is really strong in this deck because we do lack a little bit of card draw now that the Wanyumon's gone. So being able to promote this and threaten that ace card and be able to play out Tamers is really strong. You're not as scared promoting this card anymore when you have that ace in hand.
Yep.
We are still running the Leomon package. So we're running 4 of the EX2, Leomon. I really like this card. 4K is really good in this format because a lot of those Commandramons are not swinging for 4K.
No.
Some are, but if they do swing over this, it's a Leomon memory boost in the way that I look at it. You're drawing cards, you're gaining memory. It's really threatening to have on board. It's really, really an interesting kind of a concept, trying to think of how much I can fit into this deck and keep it consistent.
Yeah.
But having a lot of it really is more cohesive than you think. So
as well as another great card to go on top of the Goma.
Yes. And now that we have spoilers training cards, you're a little bit more consistent in your search, so you don't have to stick to all that crazy tribal, like only relying on the Vmon, or even if you play the old arena to search out a V. Like, there's a little bit more consistency in the deck now, I think. We do add one more piece for a little bit of consistency, and I like this one because it is cheap to play. This is the ST8 Veedramon. This one is also really good against those pesky Commandramon decks because it is, when attacking, return at level 3 if you have 8 or more cards, and it's not once per turn.
Correct.
So you're able to swing, and essentially you don't have to waste your your bounce on a little guy. You can really focus and just unsuspend and just pretty much pop their whole board back to hand. It's also it's worth noting that it is a 4 to hard play. So there is a lot of times with all the memory gain in this deck that you will have 5 memory. And with a training card, you can pop this down for 4, Evo into your Arrow V for 1, suspend it once per main, and have a viable target for another Ulforce to do some damage. So it's really good. Really like the 4 cost on play. And I think it's worthy of a 1 of in the deck. We did switch from the Lanamon. We are back to Kumamon, and I'll show you once we get to our Tamers why.
I think it makes sense with the new build.
Right. Stripping from the bottom is not necessarily the best, but stripping period is what is good because you're going to be able to Digivolve into this for 2, but also gain some memory back. So you can possibly get into an Ulforce for cheap.
From the hybrid.
From the hybrid, yeah. We're going to go to the Arrow Veedramon from BT11. This one is the bread and butter of the deck. Allows you to be unconditionally unsuspended. Unless they have like a Quartzmon out, I don't think they can really stop it.
Well, there are some of those.
There's a couple cards.
There's some of those blue cards that say can't suspend.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about those quite yet.
So suspend, grab all 3 Tamers that come out, or hopefully there's 3. But it's a really good search for arenas. I mean, it's the bread and butter of the deck. Let's go for one more Arrow V. This used to be a 3 of in the deck. It is jamming. Okay, we have an egg that does that. So that part's kind of blah on the face.
Yeah.
But we do get the sec +1. I know you're thinking, well, if you're getting more jamming, why don't you want more sec +1? You can't beat this Arrow Veedramon. This one's okay, but this one
it's the backup.
Yeah, and it keeps giving you the arena effect when you swing because you can only play so many arenas in the game. But this is a good backup. We went down to 1 because we do play 2 of the new Zudo Ace. This card is super oppressive on your opponent. The thing that this deck really lacked and was really kind of hard to deal with was the lack of removal that the deck came with inherently, other than the awesome bounce to hand, obviously. Yes. This one, hard drop for 4. We play some Tamers that actually can make that cheaper. It's just really good way to get rid of your opponent's,
It's just an insane comeback for a lot of your games. Like if you fall behind and it's like, well, Ulforce can bounce 1 thing. If you have the X, you can bounce 2 things. Then you can end this turn with the Zudomon.
Yeah, and if you already have Arena in play, and you can do some really fun stuff. Put this down, drop an Ulforce on top of it. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. But regardless, it's an awesome level 5, really good removal in the deck. And then we are running 4 of the BT11 Ulforce.
That's not going to change for a long time.
Not going to change for the foreseeable future. Haven't seen any new Ulforces that are better. Alongside of it, we'll just put it down. We run 2 of the Ulforce X. Seen lists that try 1. 1 doesn't feel good. I like the 2.
You're a 2 Ulforce X kind of a guy.
I am indeed, because you are a Machine Dramon player kind of guy, and I really like this combo. Because sometimes you need that 1, 2, maybe 3 punch.
Yeah.
The best part about this combo is you're really stripping a lot of sources from things like a War Gray. You're stripping that Gray X so you
Yep.
can bounce them. You're stripping, sources from Machinedramon.
Yeah, the particular sources in cards give them their strength. And if you can, like, a lot of the times you were stripping, like, their your turn 1k DP egg, or even, like, their Searcher Rookie with no inheritable. And it's
Their
like,
Security Attack Greymon.
Yeah.
So, strip
like,
their math. Yeah. Of course, this one's never going to change. Or Arenas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to say about that. It's a staple in the deck.
Turns on the deck.
Turns out it's a good card.
Yeah.
Can't run the deck without it. Unfortunately, it's not a budget deck just because of that card alone. Everything else in the deck is pretty affordable, actually. There's nothing that's crazy out of there, except for that one card.
True.
So, all right, we got 3, Davis. I know 3 is kind of aggressive, but like I said, we do need more generic blue search in the deck because we are looking for
Leomons and Zudomons and Gomamons, all kinds of different stuff.
All kinds of fun stuff. Plus, like I said, with all the source stripping and the training cards in particular, being at 3 is very important in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
This is almost an autoplay when you get it in hand if you don't have one.
Yeah.
It's such a good card. You'll never grab 2 things with it in this deck, but who cares? You have trainings now. We'll get to that. And the Vmons, you have ways to search your Tamer. So not a terrible go. We'll go 4 Jerrys. We like Jerry. Or 3 Jerrys. I'm sorry. 3 Jerrys, 4 Leos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the 4 and 4 split is needed. 3 seems just fine. You kind of want more things to play with the Tamer than you do the Tamer to play.
Agreed.
Really good. I know
another way to supplement your draw from the Wanyumon.
Yeah, and dropping a Tamer and adding a level essentially to the Ulforce's arsenal, and being able to drop a Leomon memory boost, all in one. There's nothing wrong with it.
Agreed.
And it just has that awesome effect when your opponent does attack you, you get to draw a card. So when you have 2, maybe 3 of these out, your opponent attacks you, you're fine with it because you're getting more pieces. And once again, it helps really supplement that Wanyuma loss.
And it also is one of the most threatening ways to get into the Zudomon.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times you play a Jerry, play a Leomon, they're thinking, oh, well, he's going to gain 2 and draw a card. Let me play around that. They'll be distracted from the fact that a Zudomon could just plop right on top of it.
Yeah. Aside from that, my favorite part about that combo is, too, they always like to do that Death X turn, but it makes Death X's cost a couple more.
Yeah.
And get to draw a card to kind of replace what just died. All right. So I know you're thinking, we haven't seen anything new in a while. Okay, we're here. We run 3 of the new Joe Kiddos. So this card is one that it really wasn't on my radar as an Ulforce player until regionals, until we were done playing and we were opening packs. And I was like, this is essentially a 2-cost Tamer.
Yep.
Which is really good. Which is why it replaced the V-Ties. So I don't run those anymore just because they don't really have an on-play effect. And I kind of found them lacking when I didn't have you can't have a Vmon on play to activate
the Veedramon.
Veedramon, yeah. So with the new cards in this deck, like having a Zudo or a Gomamon or a Leomon out, I really didn't find myself always having that prerequisite to draw that card.
As well as the 1K is basically useless these days because you have jamming.
Absolutely. So essentially, if you go back and look at some of the older videos, I was like, this card will never come out because it was such a good value at the time. But now that we have this jamming egg and targeted source stripping galore, this Joe Kiddo is amazing. Especially out of security, you can really screw up their math. You can strip that Security Attack Greymon mid swing. You can strip their bounce protection. You can
strip their ace, overflow, and pass the turn.
Absolutely. So this is a really, really, really good card. One thing to note is you cannot suspend it on your opponent's turn to gain the memory. So when it does come out of security, it's just going to strip the source. It's not going to gain the memory. But it is really nice to have this on board when you promote that Gomamon, strip a source, gain a memory. There's a lot of fun things you can do. Next, we're going into our mental trainings. This card actually really, really benefited this deck. I know you're thinking it benefits every deck, but this one in particular is really good. So
it just felt so bad to play blue memory boost.
Yeah, because you're bottom decking. It was at least 1 or 2 arenas. It was crazy.
It's just an uphill battle from there.
Absolutely. And this card is really good because it really lets you threaten with the Davis is very important, but it really lets you threaten Ulforce from a rookie promotion.
Yep.
Which is absolutely terrifying for your opponent. Because you don't have to build your stack and raising anymore. You can literally promote the Gomamon, strip something, maybe gain a memory if you have the Joe out, pop the training, go into an Veedramon, and then go into your Arrow V, swing if you need to, or just suspend it, and then for 3,
and you're
still your
zero,
turn, you're still fine. Yeah. So there's a lot of really fun things to do with that. It's really hard to not play 4.
Yeah.
But I had to. I did play this a lot, and I realized every time I had this card, I was glad it was not a mental training. And that's Icewall.
How many times do we have to beat this dead horse?
Absolutely. So we're not going to beat that anymore.
No.
But that's my lineup. It is kind of tricky to figure out ratios for this deck. It seems like you're playing less and less Digimon and more Tamers these days. Which is really good for the Ulforce. But it is fickle, so it is something you really have to practice and grind with before you can't just pick this up and expect to know the order in which to play.
There's a lot of different routes to go with this deck.
For sure. So, tell me what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know in the comments. And thanks. We'll see you in the next one.